Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy. I totally didn't almost flub that. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
Tonight, we're flubbing intros and talking Doctor Who, and that's what's on the agenda. I'm just going to get right to it. But first, how are you two?
All right.
Good. Yeah.
I know we will not have a Paul in the audience tonight. He said he's preparing for his big 13 days of Christmas podcast episodes he does.
That's appalling.
I distinctly remember him cranking out like 13 episodes for December last year and saying he'd never do it again. But I guess he's going to do it again.
Mm-hmm. I think he likes torturing himself sometimes.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, he sends you the Snyder Watch stuff, so he's got to.
It's true. It's
That's
true.
Is that masochism? Is that what that is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're streaming now. We're going on at the normal time as we usually do, but we did just kind of talk for like 10 minutes about Doctor Who and stuff like that. Like, we're not even streaming yet. We gotta stop it.
It's like a warm-up stretch. It's like limbering up.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm much more mellower tonight than I have been the last couple weeks. As Savannah commented before that, I turned up to 11. I got up a little earlier than I had anticipated, so you're going to get mellow Randy. Mellow Randy. Yeah.
Cool.
Nights, Randy.
But first, did I already ask you how you guys have been doing?
Yes, you did.
Oh, sweet. I told you. Flubbing intros.
That reminds me, I know this has nothing to do with any of our things, but this morning I give my sister a ride to work in the mornings, and she called me and said she was ready, and I got all the way to the interstate before I realized I didn't have her in the car and had to go back and get her.
Oh my!
You were taking her to you were taking her to work, and you Kevin McAllistered her.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yep. So it's been that kind of a day.
Wow.
What a timely seasonal reference.
Right? It's in the air. It's in the air.
Yep.
Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay McCulkin. Well, before we get to the Doctor Who talk, there's a couple things, we always do. We things we've been watching. And there's one specifically I wanted to mention that I forgot to mention last week, and that was, and I know I've mentioned it on the show before, but Melanie and I finished the first season, or the only season so far, of Chucky.
Oh.
And I wanted to mention it because I thought it was great. I thought it was, in my opinion, far better than most any of the movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Yeah?
So their plans toward the end of the season, I'm still not entirely. They seem a little wonky, but I can overlook it all because it's still fun and yeah.
It's got, I'd say it's got hands down like the coolest moments. The second half of the season, particularly, almost every episode had at least one moment that was just awesome and fun and demented. And I was like, that's outdoes almost anything that's ever been in any of the movies. At one point, okay, for example, there's just earlier in the season, there's a moment where Chucky's attacking somebody, the whole room's on fire, and he's just Chucky laughing. And it's just awesome, and it's well shot. And that's another thing. It's extremely well shot, which is, I know TV shows look good now in modern day, but it's surprising that there are so many times when I was like, wow, this is such a good-looking, well-shot show. I think it looks better than some of the older movies anyway. But there's just cool moments. At one point, Chucky is getting this is not really a spoiler if you kind of know the deal with Chucky these days. he's getting his head sawed off, right, with like a saw.
Yeah.
And it's just, even though it's a doll, right, it's the most demented kind of twisted thing going on, and it just goes like right into psychodrama where it's just screaming and there's blood spurting out of the doll's neck, and it's amazing.
My favorite part, and this is not spoilers either in my opinion. Sorry, hope that's not. At one point,
That means
Chucky
it's a spoiler.
Chucky kills a person, but not himself. I mean, no, actually more himself than ever before because someone else is wielding him as a weapon and beating somebody with him.
Yeah,
I'm like,
we gotta
wow.
go.
How great is that?
We gotta go. Yeah, we won't say the characters that are doing it, but we will spoil that someone gets beat to death with Chucky, and it's amazing. Like somebody takes Chucky, as he's Chucky, not just a Chucky doll, but Chucky himself, and is beating another person to death with him. I was like, that's the best kill in the Chucky franchise.
Yeah, that's gotta be like another level of I don't know what that serial killers get to be the weapon itself. I would imagine.
Right. Well, Chucky's kind of like a slasher thing, like a slasher. I know it's a supernatural slasher, but I would group him into slasher territory. And so, like the kill counts, the season even ends with Chucky doing a kill count himself of the show, recapping the kills. But that's like a thing, and the show's definitely got some of the best, the most choice kills of the franchise. There's one that's horrible, but the way it's done, it's so good. And I'm talking about the car one, Melanie.
Okay.
The car, and there's two people involved, and one person's in the car.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think maybe.
Okay, well, it's big spoilers, so I don't want to say who it is at all. Anyway, if you watch the show, you'll know what I'm talking about once it happens. But it's amazing. So
does it have a through line? Like, is it episodic at all, or is it all anthology? Or...
No, it's totally episodic. Yeah, for sure. And I don't know how much of a time jump there is, but it definitely picks up after the last movie. Which one was that? Cult of Chucky?
Yeah.
But it's not quite what I expected in that respect because, the characters that you leave Cult of Chucky with, which is basically Tiffany and Chucky in Nika's body now, they don't even come in really till
like 3 or 4
halfway through the season. Yeah.
Episodes in, yeah.
So I was a little surprised by that, but it's a lot of time introducing the new characters, which are younger, like high school kids. And then of course Chucky's there. Sorry. My phone's on. Chucky's there the whole time. So it's got the best Chucky-isms. It's so good. Listen, just watch it.
And it feels like Chucky, even though it's on like USA or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't really understand the reasoning of her being part of it, as story-wise, but the Nakia chick, I think, helps that along a lot because she does look a lot like her dad and brings him into the whole thing.
Yeah, the main character lady from the last 2 movies is played by the daughter of Brad Dourif.
Oh.
And so
that's right. I think I knew that.
And Chucky ends up possessing her, so she kind of gets to do the Chucky voice, which is weird because it's her dad. But also there's a lot of not a lot, but there's flashbacks throughout this season where it'll go to him before he was Chucky, and it's her made up to kind of look like him. And at first it's pretty convincing, and then after a while you're like, okay, well, I mean, it's clearly not his body. But it is a weird thing where at one point I asked Melanie, I was like, do you think it's weird for her to be filming sex scenes acting as your dad's character, knowing that they're just going to overdub your voice with your dad's voice in these sex scenes? Like, it's such a weird scenario.
Yeah. I think it'd be great.
But Yeah, no, she's pretty good. She's pretty good in it.
Mhm.
We almost don't get enough of her this season, but we get lots of Chucky.
Yeah.
Oh, to answer your question about like it being on USA and stuff, like cable just doesn't have limits now, right? Like they can do anything because there's some hardcore kills and language isn't an issue. And like I said, it's
As long as you're not Nikki, it's all okay. It seems like.
I think the benefit maybe the change over to a TV show from the movies, a benefit is it doesn't feel the need to be a horror movie. If that makes sense. Like it's got
Sure.
the horror movie tropes or like the horror movie, it's a Chucky thing. There's slashers, there's kills, suspense, stuff like that, but it doesn't feel the need to like draw out long scenes of suspense because that's what a horror movie does. Because I kind of feel like Chucky has always worked best. I mean that Curse of Chucky aside, always works best when it was like, you know what, let's just get rid of that and just indulge in Chuckiness with like Bride of Chucky and stuff like that.
Sure.
And so it being a show, I think kind of works to the benefit where it doesn't have to get like it's all about characters. It's like spending time with characters. Not that there's a ton of character growth, but it's enough of a TV show with an ensemble cast that it bounces around and moves through at a pretty good pace. But it's still like the attitude is perfect. The attitude is perfect, so it retains that kind of Chuckiness through the attitude and yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some cheese, of course, here and there. There's got to be.
You'd be disappointed if there wasn't. Yeah.
I mean, it's
It's good.
so much less cheese than Cult of Chucky, the movie, right? Like Cult of
Yeah,
Chucky
yeah.
still had that like
So over the
B grade kind of feel to the writing, and I don't feel like the show has that, which is a good thing.
Do we watch anything else?
South Park post COVID special on Paramount Plus.
Oh yeah.
Oh, whoa.
I don't have a lot. It's South Park.
Yeah.
It's South Park in the future, so it's interesting in that like the kids are all grown up, and that's who we're following is this version of the future. That's
Oh, interesting.
yeah. If you like South Park, it's good. It does what South Park always does. It's very good at commentary, and
Right.
if you've watched any of their COVID specials, like
Yeah. I think I watched I don't know what it was. The lockdown. No, it was the one where the vaccine was just coming out. And so
Right.
like the old people were all like they're just going crazy kind of thing. And everybody's like, I need that. I need the shot.
right,
Yeah.
they're interesting in that they play both sides, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They play
usually
both
do.
sides. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but whatever. It's South Park.
It's a two-parter though. In case people
Right.
didn't know.
Right, it is.
I don't know why they call it a movie. It's only an hour long. It should just be like a special. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
whatever.
So we did a story on like their deal with Paramount Plus when it was in the news, where they not only inked a deal with Comedy Central to continue the show for however long, but they'd also like done a deal with Paramount to do like 4 movies or something. But
Oh, right. Yeah, we did talk about that.
I'm gonna guess this is one of those.
And I
Yeah,
can't
it's an
remember,
hour long.
So then is South Park still on HBO Max at all?
Interestingly, it is on HBO Max, and I think anything that's considered the TV show or specials for Comedy Central or whatever go to HBO Max. But these specials are Paramount Plus.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh.
you got to have HBO Max if you want to watch the first 1 or 2 COVID specials. But then to watch the most recent one, you got to go over to Paramount Plus because
It's like having a Hulk in your Avengers movie.
they just figured out how to take. They just figured out how to do streaming services so that it's just cable again.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's why they're like, oh yeah, CBS All Access and Paramount Plus and Disney Plus. They're like, yo, it's our own streaming services. We're all fighting. We're competing. No, they're just trying to. They know.
Are we? $1 million.
Now just look at Hulu and
Hulu's the worst example of it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because you get paid just to not have commercials. You
Well,
have
no,
to pay for not commercials.
but I mean, you have to. You can have Hulu, but if you want to access whatever, you have to have Hulu and pay for
Oh,
such and such different.
Amazon too.
Oh, do
Amazon
they
is
do
like,
that?
Yep.
here you
Yep.
can have a channel with your Prime. Here's your Prime plus a channel.
Ugh.
Amazon and Hulu, yeah, they annoy me the most because when I'm trying to find a show or a movie, and it's usually like something for this when we were doing Monster of the Week or something,
Yeah,
I'm like, where's it streaming? And if it says Hulu or Amazon, most of the time it's like, well, no, it's not that they're
Right.
lying. It's in a premium package type deal with one of those places.
it's like Amazon plus stars or something.
Right. I wonder if we have a Savannah tonight. Usually she chimes in on the chat, but hi Savannah, if so.
Yeah. Oh, she might be taking her kid to get tested for COVID or something, or
Oh.
not tested. I meant vaccinated, because now
Oh.
kids they've
Yeah.
so yeah.
Right, right. Jesse, did you watch anything interesting?
Speaking of streaming services, I did watch 8-Bit Christmas with Neil Patrick Harris. That's the Christmas special about trying to find a Nintendo in the 80s.
Okay.
We'll call it the late 80s.
So
That's
is
even
it
in the trailer right there.
Is it as good as Jingle All the Way? That sounds like a Jingle All the Way to me.
It's maybe on par with it. It's one of those things.
Oh.
Is it? Well, okay, maybe a little better than Jingle All the Way, but
Okay.
not much. It's your standard Christmas special kind of thing. Like the only reason you watch this movie is because you're kind of sort of got the itch for Christmas, so you're like, all right, I'll give this thing a chance. It's no Christmas Story, but also I remember being that age, and I remember how hard it was to get a Nintendo, and I remember like pining for that Nintendo the way you might pine for a Red Ryder BB gun. So that this Christmas special is so trying to ride the coattails of something like Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
like I actually buy into it because it's like this was for my generation.
No, well, that's what I was thinking, because you mentioned like if it was just like a Jingle All the Way where it's just somebody trying to get the hot toy,
Right.
like, well, that's not interesting. You're talking about a Nintendo,
Right.
The original Nintendo Entertainment System.
Man, I wanted
Now
a
you piqued my
Nintendo.
interest.
I wanted a
What?
Nintendo so bad, and my mom got me one when PlayStation came out.
Oh yeah.
That's so late.
That's like salting the wound right there.
I know,
man.
I know.
Like, oh my God, this wound's been abscessing and festering for a decade. Thanks, Mom.
Here, it's a
Here's
Nintendo.
a little table salt for you.
Yeah, but at least it came with two guns, and
I don't even know that there was a game that supported 2 guns.
Pow, pow.
Duck Hunt. You could use it in Duck Hunt.
Oh, that's right.
2-player or action movie style. Pow, pow, pow. But that it's so formulated. Nintendo, that for a certain age, and then also casting Neil Patrick Harris, like it's so
Oh,
formulated
yeah,
for
sure.
the generation.
Yeah. And they even did the whole thing about the Power Glove and whatnot. Like there's the
Oh, it's
one.
so
I mean, like
bad.
the one rich kid that had a Nintendo, and he would like have almost like a lottery every Saturday. Like the first 10 kids that show up get to play Nintendo at my house. And so he's just a jerk about it. And of course he has the Power Glove. He's trying to play and with the Power Glove, and it just is awful. So like he loses, and then he throws a temper tantrum, but and breaks the TV and whatnot, and then it becomes this whole thing where the rich kid's family is now on a crusade against video games, and so they're like protesting video games and whatnot.
Oh my god!
And it's just a whole thing, and it was like, oh man, they just wrapped everything 80s up into with a bow on top and said Christmas movie, like Satanic Panic. Let's go.
Really?
Right.
Yeah, but pretty much everything was corrupting the youth in the 80s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
except Reagan somehow. I don't know how.
So is it worth watching?
It was fun. It was
Okay,
fun.
okay.
You know, like I enjoyed it. I don't think it's a great movie. You know,
I can't
like
decide
it
if
is.
it sounds good or if it sounds horrible. Like it sounds a little bit of both.
Hey, we got a Twitch. We got a Twitch Savannah tonight.
Twitch Savannah.
Hey.
What's going on? Yeah, Savannah. I knew you didn't want that Facebook streams anymore, so
Yeah.
we're here on Twitch for you.
Yeah. Were you out vaccinating your kid? Because you better have been. No.
Okay, we're waiting for her replies. That's not good. It's
Yeah,
not good
sorry.
audio later. No, it's okay. Anything else?
I also caught up to Hawkeye, so I watched the most recent episode.
Oh,
I
right.
think I talked about that a little bit last week. It just continues to be good. There was only the recap reference to me this week, so I mean, basically, episode 3 is the best episode, but episode 4 was okay. Now with 100% less Kiefer, but
yeah, it doesn't have
still.
Jay Kiefer in there.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. I mean, like it continues to feel like a Netflix show, and I like that about it because
Right.
I miss the Netflix shows.
They were good. I mean, they weren't always gold. Iron Fist, it was a mixed bag.
Right.
But man, I really liked the other series, and I don't know, the team up show I think was a kind of a disappointment for a lot of people, but I think it was kind of what it was. It was okay.
It actually like helped me enjoy that Danny Rand character a little bit more, just
Right.
because everybody else just thought he was crazy. I was just like, dude, you have to stop talking about it. Quit talking about Kunlun.
Yeah.
Right. He was not a very bright character.
Right.
I think that whole show was rushed. They should have taken more time
Right.
before even introducing it and done more like individual crossovers maybe before they tried to mash them all together. But maybe they knew they didn't have long or something. I don't know.
What's the one I'm forgetting?
What?
Oh no, okay, I remember. There's Jessica Jones,
Mm-hmm.
Luke Cage, Daredevil, and Iron Fist.
And Punisher later, but they didn't
Oh,
really.
and Punisher,
Yeah.
right?
He wrapped into Daredevil, but
Man, I don't think I was digging the Punisher series. Honestly, I don't think I actually finished it.
We didn't.
Oh, I'll have to go back and finish
a
that
lot of people
someday.
don't like season 2. I thought it was okay. It was interesting enough. It wasn't great, but it was interesting enough.
Mm-hmm.
They need to ugly that dude up. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
They didn't
Yeah,
ugly him up
yeah.
enough. He's supposed to be horrific now, and
Yeah.
he still looks just as pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So,
But they put him in a hoodie because he has to hide it. He's such a monster.
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. That show is definitely like aiming at a different demographic almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it
Well, I
was
mean,
still good.
they all were supposed to have their own like flavor, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and so that's how they were supposed to be. And
Makes sense, yeah.
another reason I think that the Iron Fist thing failed a little bit too, because it didn't have its own thing. It didn't feel like
Right.
it was. I don't know. I don't know where it was trying to fit in, but it didn't. But Jessica Jones was okay too. But Tennant is the greatest, and when he leaves, it makes everything sadder.
You're right. Like it did have to like, in terms of villains,
Oh,
you
man.
start too high, and then
Mhm.
like everything's kind of a disappointment after that.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed the show. I think I'm most upset still about
Nuke.
Luke.
He didn't say. He didn't say for the boys. The boys.
That
Yeah.
reference is so old. Savannah's not even know what we're talking about at this point. No, Luke Cage not getting a proper ending because Jessica Jones
yeah.
got a proper ending. Daredevil arguably got the only like true like
Yeah, they knew.
they knew it's coming. Let's full circle this. Jessica Jones could have continued on, but it also is a fine place to end it. But Luke Cage was a straight up cliffhanger,
Right.
Yeah.
and that sucks.
With the
And-
most potential for another season too. Like that whole arc was already just like laid out.
He's doing the heel turn, man.
Yeah.
And you know, instead of doing the Iron Fist thing, they should have done a Night Nurse spinoff.
Yeah.
That would have been
good
way
too.
better.
Yeah.
And you could have introduced so many characters that you could possibly later, you know, have they're in their own series. But
And she was the only through line to all of the series for a while, and then they
Uh-huh.
were just like, okay, we can't keep paying Rosario Dawson. She's just too expensive for us.
Oh, right. Yeah. She was great, though.
Yeah.
Once again, this week, I'm not crazy. There's an ant. Savannah says, I'm still catching up on Doctor Who. I was just in the place where they brought the grandma back, but it wasn't really her. Oh, okay. They landed in Norway, and a dad was seeing his dead wife in another dimension. That's the weird one with the frog at the end, where the doctor's talking to.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's like the other dimension was kind of a being itself, and then chose the form of a frog to talk to the doctor at the end.
yeah, it was fun.
It's a weird episode. There's some cool ideas in that one.
Had some of the better Jodie Whittaker moments.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, like, we'll get into it, but this season or series actually had some good acting moments for her, but the writing continued to be what it was.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a.
I was.
Savannah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, you can finish.
I was just gonna say Savannah's saying I'm actually liking her.
Okay, and I was gonna say the last episode we watched, she had a pew little tear fall down her cheek, and I was like, I think maybe part of the problem is, well, besides the crap writing, when she acts the best is it's subtle, and it's too subtle to work in Who with the way that it's done right now, you know.
Right.
Right.
No, yeah, that's a good point, and it's interesting because I hadn't thought about it, but you're right because she's doing big, but I don't feel like that's her strength.
Right.
She is more of a. I mean, I don't know all of her past stuff. I know she can weep because she's great in Broadchurch.
Right.
So I assume she's more of a drama actor, but yeah, they're not going for subtle, and
Yeah.
that's what she's good at.
Right.
Yeah, none of her lines were written in whispers; they were all written in yells. So you know,
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Savannah said she's liking the Doctor. The writing is garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's.
I might have to just become a writer, so that I can pretend to be British and write for the BBC.
You don't even have to write for the BBC anymore. You just get in with Sony. They're big enough that they can hire lots of writers, right? Because they're involved with Bad Wolf now.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I actually read somewhere that there's rumor they're already in pre-production for the next series.
Really?
Yeah.
Why wait? Why wait, man? They're
Right.
not the BBC. They don't have to wait like a
They don't
year.
have to wait.
Yeah.
That'll be. That's exciting. That'll be interesting. Coming off of a year with, we're going into a 3 special year again.
Right.
Which sucks. After a 6 episode year with a whole lot of nothing happening.
Yeah.
Or a whole lot happening, and none of it was meant anything.
Right.
Are we?
An 8 episode arc that was condensed into 6 for COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we ready to
And it
talk
really
about it then?
shows.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So we watched Doctor Who Flux Chapter 6, the final of this event, which has rippling repercussions, or it has none. Nothing matters.
Right.
Although if you think about it, like the state of the universe at the end of this, it's like wrecked.
Yeah.
The impression was like the Earth is like the one planet that's not totally destroyed because it had the dog shield.
Yeah.
It had the dog collar on.
Did. It really did. And in which case, this was the point in the series where Holly's like, do they remember when this show used to be about how science works? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, that many shield or that big shield would have blocked out the sun. Like, yeah, you're right. That's right.
No, you can't. You can't. There's no logic here.
No, clearly not. No.
No.
The doctor was a weeping angel for all of 5 minutes. So, and then never mentioned again.
It was for literally the cliffhanger moment,
Right.
and then undone instantly the next episode.
It was a weeping angel Uber to the division.
Yeah, wait. How did she get from there to there? From there to division? Did she?
Yeah, the weeping
Yeah,
angel.
the weeping angels did it. Yeah.
That was
So-
how they teleported her, or whatever.
Yeah, but they were all standing in like a field, right? And then they're on a ship?
Weeping angel tech.
They just kind of like TARDISed out, but weeping angel style, right? I believe. Isn't that how it works? Like they just like. Phew.
Yeah, haven't you ever seen a weeping angel just teleport around?
I mean, while we're still figuring out the rules about weeping angels,
They can't move
because
while
they change every time.
you or a dog or one of themselves are looking at them, but they can teleport.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They can live in your brain. They can hide in your eye.
They can hide in your brain. They can,
They can hide in your iPhone. They can be in your video games. They can be on a piece of paper you can draw on.
I was
You
gonna say,
can start on fire.
they can reassemble a torn up piece of paper. What was that all about?
Yeah. Oh, man.
God, we didn't even talk about
They are
that.
really good. They're good at this.
Yeah.
They should have been. They should have been a one-time thing.
Yeah.
They are too popular to be a one-time thing. But here's the thing: you don't, and this is Moffat's fault. Don't add them. Don't add. They don't need lore. Don't add more to them.
Right.
Yeah.
It was established in the one episode in Blink. If you're gonna have them come back, same thing. They don't need
Right.
all these extra powers, and every time they get brought back, they're given more powers. It's like it's all nonsensical beyond the original concept.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what they were best at. They were kind of like a creepy horror villain that when you didn't understand them. Like the more you knew about them, the less scary they were.
Savannah's got to work, so she's bouncing.
Yes,
But
cat
she
pizza.
said cat pizza, which I
That's
love
the most
combining.
Grawlix thing I've ever heard.
It is.
Yeah.
By the way, Savannah's cool, and she helps support the show. You too can support the show like Savannah. Be a cat dancer and get all the cat pizza at grawlixpodcast.com /
Right.
just go to grawlixpodcast.com. No, patreon.com/grawlixpodcast.
Yeah.
And you can become one of our premier upper tier patrons like Savannah. Have a good night, Savannah.
Yeah. Good night.
I almost forgot her shout out. I mean, we were talking directly to her. It doesn't get much more shout out than that, does
That
it?
really is. That's
Yeah.
the shoutiest of shout outs.
You know, those occasional like listens in other countries that we get.
Right.
I wonder what they think.
The New Zealanders are like, oh, they're just really nice.
Somewhere in some country, there's some guy that's like, Savannah's on again, yeah.
I love that idea.
Savannah's actually the star. Like in other countries, they were like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good, it's another cat dancing thing. We don't know what that means, but it's great. We love it.
In Iceland, Savannah, they're all about it.
Cat dancing is like a Boy Scout patch that they earn.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, great. This is like, it's a cat dancing show again. Let's listen to that. I don't know whether they're Australian. That's probably international incident happening right now.
I know there that for New Zealand and Australia, I always say it weird. I know. They don't like getting mixed. They don't like being mixed up. That's a sore spot, I think, with both of them.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
One of them's got here.
I just don't know how to do a New Zealand accent.
This is
I know
totally
Taika Waititi. That's it.
You just say his name as the
I
accent.
did. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I made rocks. There we go.
There you go.
I think their accents are super similar, but the places are very different.
Right.
One has hobbits and the other has kangaroos.
Did you know actually New Zealand is on its own like continental crust thing? Yeah.
It's doing it for itself. It's a strong, independent country.
Yeah.
That's right.
What are we talking about?
Doctor Who.
Yeah. Doctor Who. Yes.
So what'd you guys think of this episode, by the way? Since we just ranted about 2 episodes back.
I think we covered it because it made about as much sense as just talking about the Weeping Angel episode.
I think, at the beginning of, just a few episodes ago, we're like, it seems like kind of a mess. I don't know. There's a lot happening, but let's wait till it comes together. Well, it came together.
Did it?
Sort of. Yeah. Sort of.
The problem is, it didn't matter. Like, because
Yeah.
the way it wrapped up was so underwhelming.
It still didn't mention. There's still no information or conclusion to any of the stuff with, was her name Ruth?
Ruth, yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. I'm sure that's still coming because it's the only thing that's really keeping us interested in 13 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the fob watch, they set that all up and then
Yep.
just literally
Yanked it out from under us.
decided. She's like, no. It's like, you were just like desperately
You were like addicted to it earlier.
eyeballing that thing from across the room while people are threatening your universe. Like,
When all of her companions were lost in time and she was literally lost in time, she couldn't be bothered to tear herself away from this new information. But now she doesn't need it. She's learned a lesson, I guess.
And the bling bling creatures.
yeah.
It did. So I didn't. Are they avatars of time or something?
No, time is like the guardian or is like a guardian or a construct or something, and then just assume whatever they're talking to, kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's why it turned into the Doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, that was initial confusion. I was like, wait, why does that? So who's that guy? Why does he look like them? But then it turned into the Doctor and was talking, whatever, continued talking.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so it's just time. It can do whatever. But that's a weird way to introduce a time entity.
Yeah, but they were like worshiping it like it was their master or something. Also,
They were talking about how. Yeah, no, they were talking about how.
they were. I don't know, but that it didn't resolve any of that to me. It just made it more confusing, which I think is a lot of this episode. Really, is that way.
I think, and I yes, I agree. And I think here's why. I feel like they wrote these things and they were like making the show and they have to see it like 1,000 times. And they're like, yeah, it makes sense. Like it all ties together. Look, we just answered that question, right? And yet, like, it makes sense, but not as much sense as they think it makes sense. Like they know that this means that, and we're like, what does that mean? And they didn't really answer it for us. So like the Grand Serpent is like the big question mark for me. Is like, I kind of forgot he was even a thing, but he was like the whole reason that one guy was even involved. The guy that goes and saves the gal from the passenger.
Right, but like, he was from his. Like, he's just a part of that guy's backstory, essentially.
Right.
Who then gets entangled in the plot.
Right.
And so that guy can get some type of revenge.
I think just so that Kate Stewart could show up.
I think that the whole point of the whole thing is it's a small universe. and you just run into friends and stuff all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Especially when the Flux kills everyone but your friends.
Yeah.
There's definitely like I could see maybe I don't know what it is about it, but like the Doctor meets time as an entity and talks to
Right.
time, and that I guess could be an interesting moment, but like just the way it's done, it's just like who cares? It didn't mean anything. Time
Right.
didn't do anything. That it's a literal like Deus Ex Machina to take care of the swarm.
Right.
And then how the Flux is dealt with is an okay idea if this were like a single episode plot that it had to wrap up instead of a huge universe ending 6-part miniseries event. It's like, oh no, we're just going to like TARDIS it away inside of a passenger thing. I'm just going to suck it into this thing and then it's fine.
Right.
Really.
And everything else, like, man, I don't even know how to talk about this because like you can't talk about that without talking about like the Santarin strategy, which was to go ahead and let the Flux just eat up all sorts of matter, but then this Lupari shield is going to be enough to stop it, but then it's this one thing, this passenger that can suck it up like a vacuum, and it's fine now.
Yeah, and by the way, weren't those passengers holding like the rest of the universe that didn't die yet in them already? Like,
Again, all this stuff I think happens off screen. Like I think the passengers were basically like a refrigerator for the Ravagers, if that's what those guys are called, the bling monsters. It was like, oh, I'm feeling a bit peckish. Passenger, midnight snack. Like I think they just devoured those people.
oh,
Well,
okay.
and how was it that the one lady that we knew, that we met in the first episode, that didn't want to hang out with Dan after all this, which is just like it's not his fault, man. Like,
Right. Yeah.
you both got abducted on the same night.
I think she just got good at hiding in there. I don't.
Oh,
I
is that what
didn't-
it is?
I didn't
Like,
totally
she's-
understand that, but she like understood it. Like she understood how to traverse it, and like she knew where the edges were. So I feel like she was just good at hiding when she needed to.
Okay, yeah, because it seemed like she was the only one in this vessel that could hold hundreds and thousands
Yeah.
of people, so that it's okay to use that then to put the Flux in because there's no one else in there. It seemed weird that there'd be nobody else in there.
Right, and if nobody's in there, then what is their matter that is going to slow this thing down, and why is the passenger going to contain it?
Right. What are they going to do with the? Is the passenger not of this dimension? The thing seems.
The inside of it isn't, because apparently it can just create
Right.
endless worlds, because there's like Greek temples or something in there that they're running around through.
It's kind of like your house is on fire, but that's in the other room. So you just close the door and be like, never gonna have to worry about that again.
It really was, and it felt like the biggest like throwaway thing. It was just like the doctor's just like, oh, that could work.
It is. It's so like just done, and it's like, wait,
Yeah.
that was the huge. That's it. It's the whole threat is just resolved.
My biggest issue. What about the Ood? The sweet innocent Ood. They always
Right.
end up with the short end of the stick. He's in between universes out there on this ship that's shaking apart. And now what? You just leave him there to die or something?
Well, I don't even know if that thing exists anymore. And didn't Tecteun or the doctor's mom just like, she's dead now.
She's dead.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It just happened. It just happened.
Like
Yeah,
all that build up, all that timeless child build up, and for a moment there, I just thought, man, maybe this is all a ruse. Maybe it's not really going to be a timeless child thing. And then they were like, nope, it really is. We're just not going to tell you about it. Bob Watch out.
Yeah, they refer to her as the first Time Lord. So
Yeah.
it's made. I noticed made a point to say the first Time Lord, and then
And their motivation is just to watch a tape, rewind it, and watch it again. They're the worst bad guys ever. They're the Be Kind Rewind bad guys.
what was the deal with the female one? and who was like living a human life with some human guy. What was that? They never addressed that again.
Mm-hmm. There had to have been a lot more that they wrote that just got scrubbed, and they just.
But even then, 2 episodes, like 2 more hours of this, I don't feel like 8 episodes was ever going to be enough.
Yeah.
The whole thing, like all the nitpicking little things aside, the whole thing, there's the major threat of the swarm, the Ravagers, whatever they are, the Flux, and getting more answers about the Timeless Child. And every one of those things is handled in just like a Deus Ex Machina, or just a totally like, just like that. It's like, oh, nope, taken care of.
Right.
With like no fanfare or a total tease, like the fob watch.
Right.
Just
and everything else is
nothing.
just like a distraction.
It's just noise.
You're like, oh, we're going to throw Jericho here. We're going to throw the Mad Mole here. And he's got an underground network. And it's Kate Stewart.
Yeah.
and then I went through a door that had the day that this show is actually coming out.
I wonder if it was Kate Stewart because John Barrowman fell out of vogue, so to speak.
Oh, maybe. Who knows?
I wonder if, like, I feel
she did
kind of
nothing.
Feels like,
she didn't have to be there. Like, she didn't accomplish anything. She had this big swelling moment of, I'm Kate Stewart. I'm the last human resistance to the Santaran Empire.
You're right. She didn't do anything that last. She just stood there and.
Yeah.
I will say, okay, it's not all complaints. I didn't hate most of this episode. It's just when it got to the end, it's just like, oh, that's it. Yeah. I liked the Doctor being split into 3.
Yeah, that was all right.
I could, that adds to the confusion, which is not great. Like when you already have kind of a convoluted, confusing story, maybe throwing weird, loftier ideas with splitting the one character up and having her do things at the same time.
Literally the 3 doctors.
Yeah.
Not a great idea, I guess, but like I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I particularly enjoyed that 2 of the 3 doctors were doing stuff together. They were running around together. It's not like we get multi-doctor stories, but usually not like the same doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
So I liked that.
And you'd expect if you did have the same doctor that it would be the same doctor but displaced in time, but they weren't. Like they were concurrently existing.
Right.
Yeah. Which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And we've had like, there's 2 tenants for a little bit, but they didn't really like run around and do things. But I don't know.
One of them was half hand or something, so that's
half human.
Half human, half hand.
Yeah. But yeah, there was some. The thing that disappoints me the most about Doctor Who is if they took any of the ideas that they shove into this thing and they did them separately and fleshed them out, it could be a really, really good story. But they waste them on these mix-ups, and so that they don't go anywhere. The interesting idea that could have been never gets explored, and then you don't want to do it again because it's been done. It's just I don't know. It's disappointing.
Yeah, this thing is a prime example of like there's so many like on paper, I bet this story sounds amazing.
Right.
Because when you just describe it to somebody, like, whoa, big crazy sci-fi ideas and universe-shattering things and all this and time itself, but then like the execution is just kind of like muddy, and then at the end you're just like,
yeah, what was it all for?
I think the best thing from the whole thing is the cute little baby monitor with the faces. They should incorporate that into the rest of the show somehow.
That was also an interesting idea that went nowhere, because I was like, who are they? They're somebody significant. Are they? I guess they're not.
I don't think so. I think they just went off on their own adventures now.
Here's
With
companions.
the dog guy, right? They're all a
Yeah.
team now.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
yeah.
the dog guy's been around for dog years that are way longer than the dog years we know, unless he was time traveling with the doctor before the doctor ever remembered that ever happening.
Uh-huh.
But he can't ever talk about it, or his brain will explode.
Well,
Kind of like how I feel when I try to piece this thing back together.
Oops, sorry guys. Well, that's okay. So we do discover that he was a companion of the Doctor, a version of the Doctor. We didn't get it. No,
Right.
but yeah, he conveniently can never speak of it. He can't talk about it, or else the viewers will know anything about it.
Yeah.
The
and-
viewers might care about me as a character,
And those stories,
aside
those
from
memories,
my ridiculous costume.
those stories, those memories are in a little watch that the Doctor has.
Yeah.
But she can't open it, or else the viewers will know.
I actually really like. I mean, I don't like that. I don't like the my brain's gonna explode stuff, but I like. Why don't you should? The Doctor's been around for thousands of years. You should run into people all the time that know the Doctor,
Right.
that used to be companions, or at least used to hang out with him at some point when he stayed on a planet for a while.
I do like that aspect of it, even though
I would love it if they ran into Charlotte Pollard. You Charlie, that'd be great. Just
Right.
run into India Fisher somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
well, and I appreciated that he seemed sad about it. And she asked, "What are your companion?" And he seemed sad.
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of them do feel later,
Yeah.
Right.
or at least
Yeah.
that's how they're usually played.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad you mentioned that, Jesse, because I think it was Jesse, that reminded me when we were watching it, and the dog guy, I can't remember his name, and then the two cool should be our companion characters went off on that ship, and I was like,
Right.
I think
let's
I even told Mel-
we need that show. Where's that show going? Let's watch that show instead. And I don't even like the dog people.
well, that's it. I think I told Melanie, I was like, Jesse would hate it, but I'd rather go with that group.
I
That's the
think
crew
it's
I
a
wanna be
better
with.
idea. It's a better idea somehow.
This crew sucks with Dan and Yaz and the Doctor.
Yeah.
I want to
really-
be with the dog and those guys.
You think maybe this whole Flux thing was just so they could make a spinoff? And that's why all the convoluted whatever, just so they could...
They could do a
those people in.
spin-off of 3 different things in this show. They could have
That's
the
true.
whole Prentice backstory. They could have whatever Yaz and Dan and Jericho were doing, playing Indiana Jones for
Right.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
They could do all of that. Meanwhile, you could have whatever the heck Kate Stewart was doing, resisting the Sontarans, who apparently love mouth snacks wrapped in paper.
Yeah.
We talked about that before the show, but we haven't even talked about how the Sontarans were. This was maybe their most. This was the most capable they've ever been, and yet also managed to botch it horribly. They somehow managed to wipe out all of the Cybermen and the Daleks, and yet did nothing.
Their plan was so stupid, though, because it was basically just we propose a truce or an uneasy alliance. Just come here with the shield. We'll save you. And then they're like, okay. They all go in there, and they're like, ha! And they move the shield back. It's wait, that's your whole... They were just going to die out there anyway.
Right.
What's even the point?
Mm-hmm.
And then...
And the Cybermen are like, "What is the meaning of this?" and the Daleks are like, "It's a trap."
And then the Sontarans are super surprised when, whoop, the dog does it to them. It's well,
Yeah,
that's because it's stupid. It's a stupid plan.
right.
It was dumb for them to do the whole... we killed off all the dog people except that one, too, by the way. So no more
yeah,
dog
yeah.
people.
Off screen too, just
Right.
oh, that's the thing that happened. They're dead now.
I don't feel bad because Chibnall had lots of chance to do good stuff, and nothing personal to Chibi, but I bet this is the story he had in his mind when he first jumped on, because before when it was first announced, he was talking about it's going to be different. He wants it to be serialized, episode to episode. It'll be more serialized than it's ever been, and clearly there was something, mandates or something. He couldn't do that, and he kind of seems like maybe he set some of that stuff up, like the whole Grand Serpent thing, kind of sliding in and nullifying Unit, like they even commented early on in this Doctor's first season that like Unit was kind of not a thing anymore.
Right.
So that's obviously something he's like, this ties into things he's had planned since the beginning. So it kind of sucks that when he finally got to it, well, got to compress it.
Yeah.
But
I did feel like, like this was the most Doctor Who thing he's done since he took over.
Right. I agree.
And yet it still was missing something. I don't know. Like there were, aside from the fact that you had a TARDIS, you had a sonic screwdriver, you had the Doctor, you had companions. There was just something about it that didn't feel quite doctory enough. I don't know.
And from a production standpoint, even outside of some of the effects in the first episode, because that opening bit is still god awful, also makes sense why the dog didn't straight up kill the Doctor, left the Doctor in a trap to, and then left, probably knowing. But aside from that whole thing, this whole season looked really good. Like the production was pretty decent. They definitely, it seems like they put a lot into it. So it's just kind of in the important writing, I guess, the filler bits, the stuff to take the big ideas and make it a fulfilling story, and then also the pacing and the execution. Like in that area is where it falls apart, because if you take like if you took a lot of the story and give it to maybe somebody else, maybe they could refine it, and I could see it being a solid Doctor Who story.
Right.
Or 7, if you split some of the elements apart. But it just kind of, I don't know, falls flat.
Needed breathing room. It needed reminders kind of thing. And it was so much stuff happened off screen. And I know that that had to be part of COVID, where it's like, we just can't do a scene with all these people. Right. We need to have scenes where we can cut from person to person.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Grand Serpent, I forgot who he was until halfway through the episode where they reintroduced him and he was doing the unit stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't until he got face to face with that guy again that I was like, oh, that's why you're important. Because I did forget who he was. Yeah. He just showed up. I was like, and who's this guy now? And I was like, oh, that's right. We did see him already, but not for very long and just in a flashback.
Yeah. Yeah, and who was he working with? What was his plan? Do we know even?
I think he just wanted to wait out the flux, like he was just positioning himself to not die. But in the end, it was always going to end up at Atropos. So hanging out on Earth was never going to save him for too long.
Yeah.
What was Atropos? Was that the time planet?
That's the place where time
Why did they all just go there? Why were we there halfway through the season and then we left when that's... And then the climax happens on Earth. Like, why didn't we just do it over there? Why was Earth even in a factor?
I don't know.
Other than it's Doctor Who, and
the Earth
has
always,
to be a factor. But
when then we got the was it basically the Ood, the Ood and the Planet of the Dead saying, "Your time is coming, Doctor." And so time itself said, "Hey, your time is coming."
Why didn't
your time is running out?
I'm running out for you. I'm coming for you. I'm coming from you.
I'm coming for you. I just zapped those two. I just took care of them because they failed me, apparently. I guess. Yeah. You too. What? You too, kid.
Yeah, well, it makes about as much sense as a Weeping Angel that apparently works like a TARDIS, driving a TARDIS.
Right. Yeah.
Why did the Weeping Angel need to take a TARDIS to time travel to go Wait.
So
what?
that weeping angel brought them back in time because of the gal that was in that city. But I don't remember why.
But wasn't it the angel
because
that
that
was in her
angel,
head?
yeah, that angel was a fugitive. Remember the one that hijacked the TARDIS and was like, "I need you to come back here because I used to be part of the division and they're hunting me. So I need to take you where they all are."
But wasn't she in that chick's head though?
Yes.
So how is
Yeah, you're right. No, I got this backwards again. See,
No,
it's
I know. I don't
so
think
confusing.
I don't think you do. I think you're right.
Yeah.
She did hijack the TARDIS to go back there, or the angel did.
Uh-huh.
But I think it was also supposed to be the angel that was hiding in the lady's head.
Yeah, they don't even know what's going on. Yeah.
And if that angel was like, you know what, I give him something better than me. I give him you, the doctor.
Why don't you just drive the TARDIS right there? Just skip it and go right to the division.
Right.
Just steal the TARDIS and go. And wouldn't that have always been the plan? We could have shaved off an entire episode and a companion or two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then we couldn't take them later and plug them into a Santaran chair and tell them the date of the Flux for whatever reason.
Yeah.
We're going to pluck that out of your brains from 1906.
Mm-hmm.
Although I did appreciate that whole thing set up a great line where the Santarion's like, what does he say? Prepare for the psychic load. Or
Yes.
whatever it
Oh
was.
my God. I laughed out loud at that one. I was like, don't name anything psychic load ever again.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Oh. Yeah.
Prepare for the psychic load. The name of your next album. The Psychic Load.
The psychic load. Oh man. Yeah. That's Doctor Who for you.
But hey, we got another Dalek episode. They clearly weren't all destroyed.
Right.
But they were.
But were
Again.
they?
All of the Daleks have been destroyed over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Also, the Earth was under Santaran occupation for how many years? Like, basically since Roman times, or something. And then, like the next day, Dan's just sneaking into museums and giving Liverpool tours again.
That's the thing. Like it just
Like nothing happened.
It hit reset without actually hitting reset.
Yeah.
Like it was so lazy.
Yeah.
It couldn't even bother to like reset it.
Thanos
Like,
snap. Who cares? In Doctor Who, this stuff happens all the time.
Right. Don't worry. It's basically just a sitcom at this point.
Let me tell you about how the Beatles lived here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And then poor Dan can't even get a date. Which, I mean, to be fair, they both like went on galaxy-spanning missions for the course of like several years. I mean, it's like maybe I don't need to get a drink with you anymore.
That's a good point. I was a little off put. I was like, she seemed super strong and she was with it and she like figured all this stuff out. And then when like he was there, she seemed like traumatized by it. And okay, maybe she was traumatized, but it just didn't gel with like, maybe she's not interested. That's fine.
Right.
But her attitude didn't gel with how she had come across, I felt, the last few scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, you know, part of the problem with the Doctor is you travel through space and time doing crazy stuff, and then the things you used to like just don't seem like they matter anymore. That's why everybody's so sad. They're like, oh yeah, well, my car's broke down. Well, once I was on Pluton with the king of Neptune, or I don't know, whatever.
And Dan's like, my house is in my pocket.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight. And so the Doctor shows up and is like, hey, you want to come? And it's like, I got nowhere else to go. No, really. I'm homeless. Or here it is.
That's why the first thing they do is they pointed him to where the bedrooms are.
Right.
He needs that. That's
He's
what
like,
he needs.
a place to sleep. I don't have a place.
Fine.
I hate eating soup. That's why I won't take it.
I'll starve first.
Soup is horrible.
Selfless. I don't
Soup?
like soup.
Soup is horrible. No.
It's too wet.
That's it. It's salty. It's wet. No. Not for this guy. Not for this Liverpool aficionado.
Yep. So you know what else is salty?
Other than this show.
Yeah.
What else is it? I would be amazed to find out.
All right. Well,
Me too.
some scientists just found a grass in Australia that sparkles and tastes like salt and vinegar. Isn't that fascinating?
That is amazing, and that was a great segue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think of sparkly demons that know time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the several grasses that is native to at least Australia, but I think maybe some other places too. But this one is specifically Australia. And there's two of them actually, and they have like resin or something that leaks out of them, like a liquid, and then it'll goop up, and it helps keep them hydrated in the middle of the desert and whatnot. Well, that goopy stuff, apparently one of the scientists got some on his hand and then licked it or something. I don't know, but he's like, "Oh, it tastes like salt and vinegar," and so everybody starts licking their fingers. They're like, "Oh, it just tastes like salt and vinegar." So that's
The
how
moral of the
science is
story
done.
is taste your hand every once in a while. Except maybe not in the middle of a pandemic.
Yep. I think Randall.
I think you were muted there.
Yeah, I think you're muted.
It's unfortunate because that was the best thing I said all week. So. And I'm not going to repeat it. No, it wasn't that good. I'm a little glad it was muted.
Yeah.
It was a
Well,
bad joke.
It'll make making those nasty chips easier, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I'll eat
vinegar.
some salt and vinegar
Salt
grass
and vinegar,
chips.
yeah. Mm.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
Some
I'm
pickle
amazed.
grass. Mm.
Nasty.
Australian pickle grass.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that sounds good or not.
No, it doesn't to me.
Sounds like a band name, though.
I love me some Australian pickle grass.
Mm-hmm.
They
I
sound
thought
so
you guys would.
folksy.
They were really good on the Van Warp Tour.
I thought you guys would enjoy that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. They do acknowledge in the article that it's a dumb thing to do to just taste some stuff.
Good.
But
That's good. Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
seem very scientist-like. I mean, I guess maybe
It's
it
like-
is.
Like the very first time anyone tried arsenic, or like, oh, I just licked my hand. I didn't think anything would go wrong. It tasted pretty bitter, and then I died.
I mean, stuff like that happens a lot. Look at like Madame Curie. Oh, I glow now, cool, and then you get cancer. It's how science works.
It's true. It's true. Scientists aren't that smart. It's just there's enough of them to record what happened to the one before them.
Right.
Hey, Bill, I feel weird. You better start taking notes.
That's fascinating. How weird.
Yeah.
Jesse, got anything exciting coming up, going down?
No. Not even a single thing. No.
Just living your life.
Yeah, no, nope, not my best life. Just a life. One of a million that could fit in a passenger vessel.
Right.
I could feed some Ravagers for a minute.
Do you think those, what are they called, passengers? Do you think those are based on the same thing that the hell from when Clara was a thing? Where Danny Pink ended up that like little ball that was supposed to be hell and had all the people in it.
Well, that was based on TARDIS technology because the Master was creating hell.
Right. Do you think it's similar? Maybe
Potentially, yeah.
built upon that.
It may have been the beta test for
Yeah.
TARDIS hell.
That still doesn't make sense either.
No.
Because she wasn't gathering people. She was actually taking people after they died in there somehow, like
Right.
uploading
Yeah,
their
that's true.
consciousness. Doctor Who's full of problems all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
It doesn't matter what era.
And you can't kill the Cybermen. They can be your tears.
You're right.
No one's killing the Cybermen ever again.
That's
Weeping
the thing.
angels. They could be weeping angel tears if
Dusty
they cried.
cyber nanobots.
Right.
That's the problem with like constantly trying to like add new stuff and one up. Eventually, it gets so ridiculous that you just have to be like, forget all that. Forget all that. Super fast, super speed, nanotechnology can infect you through a raindrop. Cybermen? No, forget it.
Evil has haunted this town for 40 years.
Yeah.
Evil cyber dies tonight.
By the way, if you guys ever start crying like dust and
Yeah.
particles, maybe go see a doctor. Don't
That's
keep it to
true.
yourself.
Yeah. Like, I think there's something wrong with my retina. I keep
That's like the people that
weeping
get bit by-
marble.
It reminds me of the people that get bit by a zombie and like pull their sleeve down. Nobody needs to know about this. Really? Really? Come on.
Right. I'm fine.
I ran it under a cold tap.
Yeah. I got antibiotical soap.
Well, I don't have anything else to say either.
Nope.
This is a weird episode. That's okay.
They're all weird episodes.
Hey, you guys know if you wanted to write, if you wanted to be a writer for Doctor Who or really anything, but specifically if you wanted to be a writer of comic books and you needed some like comic book fonts and whatnot, you could go to Humble Bundle. They have a Humble Bundle right now that has a whole bunch of comic book fonts and how to draw mangas and whatnot. That'd be a great bundle you could get if you knew anybody that were Humble partners.
Fortunately, Jesse, they do. They know us.
They do know us.
And if you want to like help us out and also get yourself some comic book fonts, I didn't know that bundle existed. I'm going to look at it. That sounds cool. Go to grawlixpodcast.com/humble. That's our affiliate link. That'll redirect you to humble.com. But, add our little affiliate mojo juice. Doesn't cost you any extra. And we get a little kickback.
Oh, and some goes to charity too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. Most of it should go to charity. You can still change the amount, just so you know. They tried to hide that for a while, and people got upset. But, yeah, you can adjust how much goes to Humble, how much goes to the companies supplying the whatever you're buying or donating to get, and how much goes to us and how much goes to charity. Always give charity a bunch.
Yes. More than us, even.
More than us, even.
We did also mention Paul, who is conspicuous by his absence, but he is probably preparing a big event. If you wanted to find Paul and his big events, what kind of website could he go to for that?
I bet you'd want to go to a podcast network that carries Paul's podcast.
That sounds likely.
Coincidentally, if you go to electronicmediacollective.com, you'll also find us. Because that is a podcast network we're on. Yeah, go there. Listen to us. Listen to Paul's 3 shows. Paul's one of those guys. Moose's Monster Mash. Just Bullspit or Bullspit with Moose.
I think that's
something
right.
about Bullspit.
Yep.
And he also
Zoobly Zoo podcast.
the Zoobly Zoo podcast with Moynihan. Lookout Bear.
Yeah, and go check out his advent of music, or not music, of podcast horror.
Right.
Yeah, horror advent sounds awesome.
I thought humblebundle.com, not humble.com. My bad. It's okay.
Did you guys ever get those little calendars with the chocolates and stuff in them? Did you ever do that?
Ours never had anything cool in them. They were just like little, like you'd pop it open and it would reveal a picture or something.
Oh, my neighbors had them. I never had them when I was little, but they started doing them for my nieces and nephews, and I want to steal all of their candy because it has candy in it.
Biggest graphics bundle too. What is it? Oh, I'm a sucker for those. I don't need it.
Right?
You don't need it.
I don't need it. I freaking got the Adobe Creative Cloud now. But man,
Right.
there's so many fonts. Epic Lutz. Actually, no, I probably have a bunch of those from the last time.
That's right. Don't look at
Mystery
it.
product number 1, 2, and 3. Oh God, I can't. I want
Not a
it.
mystery.
Not a mystery. 50 paper texture backgrounds. Those are actually
And those are
Super.
actually useful, yeah.
so useful, man.
Yeah. Because otherwise you got to like search all over for those, and some, your mileage may vary on what you can find for free.
Yeah. Well, that's all lovely. Find it at Humble Bundle. And let's wrap it up.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks, future podcast listeners, for listening. If you want to find more, go to grawlixpodcast.com. It's GRAWLIX podcast.com. I can't say the URL without spelling it like that now. It's just like encoded into my brain.
Yep.
If we ever change our podcast name, I'm still going to just spit out the Grawlix URL every time.
You'll just have to refer to, I don't know, like nerdsounds.com has a nice ring to it. I wonder where that goes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm going to have to, a curious listener might want to type that in and see where that goes. That's weird.
Yeah.
It's not weird. That's bad acting. That's acting, sucker.
To Juilliard!